Welcome to At the Bell with Derek Poppy Roland. Today I got a very special guest out of Massachusetts, former amateur boxer, and now he's a coach trainer at Army West Point boxing team. Can I get a round of applause for Mr. Jerry Hart?
That's right.
No relation to Kevin Hart.
Well, it's distant relation.
I can see the resemblance.
Thank you.
Look pretty good.
We look good. I'm the taller Hart. By the
Kev,
way.
you know, call you Kevin. Come on,
That's okay.
Jerry.
Call me Kev.
Jerry,
I'll take part of his money.
This program you got going on really is something that I feel really needed to come on the show and do a thing about your program because I love it. I love it so much. And a lot of times in my life with boxing, we always talk about, we compare the boxing sports to the baseball or the football or the basketball. And what happens is these guys go through colleges in order to get there. So when their career is over and they fall through, they wind up falling back on a college
They got
degree.
something to fall back on.
Exactly.
Right?
But the boxers that graduate, we don't go to a college. Most boxers, likely, we just turn professional. Mm-hmm. And when it's over, what do we do now?
When they turn the bright lights off or when something happens to you and your career's over, what's left, right?
And that's what At the Bell is about. At the Bell is about when the career is over, what do we do? So tell us about your program and how does it work?
So let me tell you about me first real quick, just because I had that choice to make. My twin brother and I, we fought in Massachusetts. I had the pleasure of running into you, Ricky Myers, other people that we looked up to, real good fighters. So when we were 17, 18 years old, we had a chance to go to college. And we said, you know, if we have to give up boxing to go to college, we'll do it. Because we had a chance to go to a good college like West Point. And we did. We both did full careers in the Army. I did 22 years, and my brother did 25 years in the Army. So we both retired from the Army, and then I had the opportunity myself to use my degrees and my expertise and go back and teach at West Point, teach and coach. So that's what I do.
Teach and coach at West Point. Mm-hmm. So I wanted you to tell me about the West Point, but tell me about how far. Give me some of your accomplishments as an amateur boxer.
Sure. Well, it's going to be a real short story, my twin brother and I, we started fighting when we were about 12. We were always a little undersized. So one of the few sports we could do where they match you up by weight, is boxing. So we did a diversion program. Maybe a diversion program is a wrong term to use, but we had a program at American Legion in the basement where they just had little kids. They teach them how to box and they'd pair them up and we'd pound each other and then they'd do it all winter and then they'd have a big show. Right. We did that just to learn to use our hands because we were a little bit small. After about 3-4 years with that, one of the older guys that was a former pro coach said to my dad, hey, you know, your boys are pretty good. If they like it, you know, you may want to encourage them to do it. So we said we liked it. We went and got a coach, started fighting JOs at 12. Before you know it, we're at, you know, JO regionals. Running to the ring every time someone said Poppy Too Sweet is about to fight or Ricky Myers is about to fight. So you were some of the guys that we looked to we were like, wow, the skill level that you had. You were like grown men in a kid's sport in a way. Wow. That's what we looked at you as. So we fought from age 12, 13, 14, 15 JOs. Fought in regionals, fought here in New Jersey a couple times, fought in Region 1, Flushing Meadows, New York.
I was there, when Kevin Kelly was there with us.
That's right, that's right, yeah. So the one time I made it to JO Nationals was out of Region 1 when I was 14 years old and 80 pounds. I went to, it was Saginaw, Michigan.
Oh, I won it that year in 1984.
Yeah, 84, I was there.
1984.
Saginaw Valley
I won the
State
United States Olympic title, my first United States title. Yeah.
I was 80 pounds. My coach couldn't go because he had a full-time job. My dad worked my corner. I didn't even sit down in between rounds. And I lost a 4-1 decision, and I got 3 points taken away for hitting the guy low. The guy was like, I was probably 4'8", 4'9", right? I was tiny, and this dude was like 5'5". I thought I was fighting a giant. Wow. So I lost that fight, but I finished, I think that was in the quarterfinals. Right. Last
the thing about the program that I'm trying to put out to see that what we get from boxing as far as our character, the discipline that we learn and the hard work and dedication that we learn in this sport. And how we're able to carry that over into our normal lives as we become adults and young adults and so on. And so I'm seeing your guys that you brought. It was very good to meet you last year again.
Yeah.
Run into you again, and Poppy too sweet. You wouldn't be Poppy. Yeah, that's me.
You said you're Poppy. I said, wait. You said Derek Roland, Poppy. I said, Poppy too sweet?
Yeah.
And you said, nobody calls me that anymore.
I knew you must have knew me from the past. Yeah. But that was really good. You explained to me your program with these young guys that you was bringing, and you brought the group today to the gym in Elizabeth. These guys can fight.
So I have more experience coaching. I mean, I'd like to think I'm a better coach than I ever was a boxer. I made it to JO Nationals once. I earned a trip to Golden Glove Nationals once. Mm-hmm. And that's about it. I probably had about 40 fights. And then once we went to college, pretty much our career's over. We fought a little bit in college, but it's different, right? Mm-hmm. So we finished that. We went out in the Army. I got back into coaching. Mm-hmm. I went back to West Point, and I coached there when I was still in the Army as a captain and a major. And now I'm back as a civilian.
So when you say Army and you say college, you kind of got me thinking that, I'm actually enlisted into the Army.
So it is, that's what it is like, yeah. Mm-hmm. So everyone that goes to West Point, it's a 4-year degree earning college. But when you graduate, 100% go and serve the Army. Now sometimes they'll go serve another service, but they all go serve. So at West Point, every cadet, every man and woman, when they're a freshman, takes boxing.
Boxing is actually a class.
Yes, and I'll tell you why. You already said part of it, right? Discipline, toughness, but then also there's resiliency, that ability to take a punch and come back, right? To deal with tiny failures and overcome them and succeed in life. Like without failure, there's no success, right? Exactly. How many times have we failed before we succeeded? And that's really what makes you as a person. So a lot of these kids that come to a place like West Point, they're high achieving. And they come from all different backgrounds, but they've never experienced failure. Some of them are real smart. They get all A's, and they come to the boxing room, and they don't get A's in the boxing room. They get punched, they get their nose punched in a little bit. But they learn they're tough. So we call it the warrior ethos. So they learn the warrior ethos, and that kind of starts them on their journey.
It's part of like growing into man and womanhood.
Yeah, it's character development.
Character development.
Yep. So that's very important at West Point.
I love that. Yeah. Oh wow! So now that you're coaching these teams, so they working with you. They're in class. They're in college.
Yep.
And they pass their class. They get an A in your class. Do they move on or do they go back?
Well, it's their choice. So we have a competitive club. So West Point has a competitive club team, and we compete against other colleges. So if they choose to come box, we try to recruit them out of class. But if they choose to do it, they can try out for the team.
So is it like UCLA football team or Notre Dame football team, or
it's not quite like that. I wish it were, but it's a competitive club, and West Point does an amazing job supporting us. They give us a van to come here and box with your guys.
Okay.
They'll give the cadets a little bit of food money. We get to travel around the country, fight against Navy, Air Force, University of Washington, Nevada, Reno, Penn State. Lock Haven.
Penn State has a boxing team?
Yeah, Penn State has a boxing team. Yeah, we're going to
Penn
State.
What other colleges you think got a boxing team?
So the ones I just mentioned, the service academies, all 3 of them. Coast Guard used to have a boxing team. I hope they're coming back. I heard Norwich is starting one that's up in Vermont. The East region, we have UConn, University of Connecticut. They're real good. Penn State is good. Shippensburg in Pennsylvania used to have a team. I'm not sure if they're back yet. Lock Haven is a real good team. That's a program been around a long time.
So these are colleges that has a boxing team.
Yep. You just have to be a full-time student.
You got to be a full-time student.
You have to be a full-time student, at least 12 credit hours, and you have to be a student in good standing, and you can box.
Anybody from West Point go on into professionals and do anything? Professional?
Yeah, we've had boxers go on and fight amateur. So the Army has a program too. So you talk about programs, right? Not every kid who boxes is ready to go to college, maybe even not a college like West Point, right? Okay. But if you box and you think you want to serve, the Army will take boxers. They'll train them up, and then they'll take them to Fort Carson. They have what's called the World Class Athlete Program. Okay. And you can box for the Army, and that's your job. You work out 2-3 times a day, and you go to tournaments, and you just got to keep earning your spot on the team by going to national tournaments. Wow. So that's another option for people to go is enlist in the Army and then be on the boxing team. Yeah, and you can be an officer on the team.
Okay.
So you asked if there was a pro. The one that I know that I work with is Boyd Melson.
Okay.
So I think it's Major Boyd Melson right now. He's a reserve officer.
Former pro fighter?
And he was a pro fighter while he was in the reserve. So he did his active duty time on the boxing team at Fort Carson. Fought with Keith Thurman. Fought at the same time as Sean Porter. I don't think he fought Sean Porter. He fought Boo Boo, Demetrius Andrade.
Okay.
He fought Danny Jacobs. And then
so
he
your
went
pay,
pro.
What would your pay be like? Would you get paid from the Army? Or
Yeah.
you
Yes.
get paid from the Army?
You get paid from the Army. You get paid as a second lieutenant, and you
not
probably
from the
get
fight?
promoted. Nope. So when he turned pro, this guy Boyd Melson that I'm thinking of, he's class of 2003, and my twin brother got to coach him. We both had the pleasure of coaching him in college a little bit. And then after he tried out. He was in Olympic trials twice.
Okay.
He lost, but he was alternate, I think, in 2012, I want to say. And then after that, he went pro, and he had like 18 fights. He won a WBC belt, like a local U.S. belt.
Right.
He had 17, 18 fights, and then he donated all. So it's hard to have a second. You can have a second career in the reserves. When you're active duty, you can't. So what he did is he took all his money and he donated it to spinal cord research and to prevent veteran suicide.
Oh, wow.
So a guy with a heart as big as this building.
Again, this character that we develop in this sports and all other athletics performances too. But this is some good information, y'all. At the Bell is bringing information for fighters with another option. A lot of fighters 18 and 19 and you can't get into the Olympics because in another 4 years you'll be 24, 25. This is another opportunity to get something on at life. You get a college degree, you enlist, and you can still make money and have a life. That is an awesome thing. A lot of fighters, if you don't make the Olympics, they turn pro. If you don't get a good salary afterwards, you don't have.
So nice thing about the Army, Poppy, is not everyone is maybe ready or maybe wants to go to a 4-year university. It's very academically rigorous. They may have other goals. Maybe they want to pursue boxing, but they don't see an avenue in their local place. Well, they can enlist in the Army, join the Army, they go to basic training, and then they go to the world-class athlete program out at Fort Carson, which is the same thing that Boyd did, but he did it as an officer after he graduated. Oh. So if you think of the history of the Army, right, you think of guys like Ray Mercer. These guys all came out of the Army, went to the Olympics. The Army's had boxing for a long time,
you're absolutely right. The other day we had, not recently, we had Al Cole and Ray Mercer on our show.
Fantastic.
And they fought in the Army, didn't know what they was going. Both of them didn't know what to do with their lives, and then they joined the Army, and now they became world champions, having an outstanding professional career all through the program, the Army, and the boxing. That was awesome. That's awesome to get this information out for a lot of our young guys turning pro. These young guys are turning pro at 18, 19.
Yeah.
And then when the career is over, what do you have? If you don't make the millions and millions of dollars, what do you do?
Yeah, so if you do that and you go in the Army and you box, the Army will help pay you to go to school on the side. You could be an active duty soldier. You live in the barracks if that's what you do. You fight. You get enough money for food, everything else. And then on the side, they'll help pay for your classes that you can, at the same time, be working towards a degree or get a degree.
So you start fighting for the Army. You can still go in the Olympics. You can still
100%.
turn professional. You can still be a world champ. You can still do a whole lot. Another opportunity, another option for our youth to understand these. So your position as a trainer, what would you think about these young guys that are fighting now? That what information would you be able to give them if we could talk to millions of young people about
absolutely. And I love talking to them. I mean, I've been a coach. This isn't my first time coaching. I ran a gym for a couple of years in Norfolk. I coached a little bit in Newport News when my son was coming up. I coached in Germany. I coached all soldiers, civilians in Germany for a little while. So I think I can speak to them. I would just say, if boxing is a means for you to get an education or a means for you to get a career,
right,
then go get it. Because at some point, the lights turn off. At some point, boxing's over. I knew early that I wasn't good enough to go to the Olympics. But I also knew that I could use boxing to help me get into West Point, and it did.
That was good. There was a young guy that grew up with me, not young, same my age, but
young.
he fought in he fought in our neighborhood, and his name was James Leake. He was a very good fighter. We called him Kasim, and he fought in the Army. and he was on the Army boxing team.
Yeah.
And I remember one time in the Nationals up in Lake Placid, New York, I believe it was 85 or 87, one of them. And it was almost him and I going to fight in the finals. And I believe I fought Willie Wise and he fought Kevin Pompey, or vice versa. And then I had won. And if he would have won, it would have been two people from Elizabeth in the final.
That's crazy.
But Kasim lost a close decision, and then I won it that year. Like I stayed and fight, but it would have been like, wow, I got to fight my friend who I grew up with.
I like how you sneak that in too. I like how you sneak that in.
What?
I won that year. I was a standing fighter, and you just keep going.
I won that. I won that. I was kind of good back then.
I know you're always good. I just like how you snuck that in. That was like Kevin Hart worthy.
Kasim was a good fighter.
I'll bet.
And he went into the Army and he had a future, and he could have done
the
a
Army
lot
gives
better
you skills,
with it.
right?
Yeah.
So I can box in the Army. That's one way. Or you box for a little bit and they train you for another job, and then you go do that job. And then you can take that job, you can get an education at the same time, you can get out of the Army and go get that job. And, now you're not in the Army anymore, but you're doing the same job, and maybe you do it at a higher level because you have experience.
And this is really good because that discipline and that dedication that we talk about that would inspire from boxing and other athletics, what that does, I believe, is prepares you for the man and womanhood that we're talking about.
Absolutely. My twin brother and I owe a lot to boxing, right? Being honest, a couple of white guys from the suburbs of Massachusetts, suburbs of Boston. We weren't, we always did okay. We didn't have much hard luck or anything. But when we boxed, we go to the gym, we go to, regionals at Lake Placid, we go to Yonkers, or we go to Patterson, or we fight it wherever. Sometimes we're the only people that look like us in the room, and everyone took care of us. Everyone was like, "You fight? Oh, you fight? Okay, you're one of us, right?" And that confidence and that kind of confidence that we learned there, I think gave us the confidence to go to West Point, gave us the confidence to go out in the Army, lead soldiers, and it didn't matter what they look like, because when you go to combat, you got to lean on each other, right?
And so it's funny you say that. I'm glad you brought that up with the racial or the black and white. With the world is what it is.
But nobody cares in the gym, and that's what I love.
Nobody cares in the gym.
If you can fight, they might look at you kind of funny, but once they learn. So I'll never forget. I met Riddick Bowe a long time. Many years ago. So Riddick Bowe back then was 178, I think, right?
Yeah, I remember. And
me and my brother were like 106 probably. And we walk into a weigh-in, and he turns around and he goes, "Who the heck are you?" And we both look at each other and we go, "Hey, we're Chris and Jerry Hart." And he goes, "You fight?" And we're like, "Yeah, we fight." And he goes, "Hey, y'all, listen up. Listen up. These are my friends, Chris and Jerry Hart, and they fight." It was Riddick Bowe.
That's Riddick Bowe. That's Riddick Bowe all the way. That's what he do. That's what he do. But I'm gonna tell you, my first encounter, I was, I don't know, maybe a teenager or younger, but 106 pounds. I fought Ricky Myers from New Jersey, and Ricky Myers was a white guy from Woodbridge, New Jersey, and he fought hard. And when Ricky Myers was around, it didn't matter what it was, black, white, whatever. If you can fight, you can fight. That's it. Nobody cared about that. And Ricky was a good fighter. And we fought, and then we became good friends. We became sparring partners. And then we traveled. At that time, I was 119. He would go in and go jump up to 125. When I was 125, he was 132.
Right.
As I moved up, he moved up. And so, but we continued to be good friends. All because of boxing. I think all athletes, I believe, breaks the race barrier.
Yeah, because it doesn't have a place in the locker room. It doesn't have a place in the ring. If you fight, you fight. Right?
If you fight, you fight.
Nobody cares about. I don't think fighters don't care about gender. Fighters don't care about race, whatever. As long as you can fight, as long as you're willing to fight, you don't even have to be that good. As long as you're willing to step between the ropes, right?
Yeah, and
that's respect.
It's a respect. Exactly. I was going to say it's a respect thing, because as basketball players, if you can shoot, you can shoot.
Right.
And if you can play, you play. Yeah. And we don't care nothing about how you is and how you're not. That's a wonderful thing, man. Jay, I really am glad you decided to come on and share West Point Army, man. It's a really good program. I want to give the world the information. We want to put it out there. Opportunities for our youth we just losing too many youth and too many people to the streets and to what to do after the careers are over. So many people wind up going to jail, getting on drugs, trying to make a living, and these are opportunities or another option we may have for our young guys who, after the career, what do I do?
Absolutely. So if you want to learn more about West Point, you can look up West Point online. We are on Facebook. Our boxing team is on Facebook and Instagram. On Instagram, it's Army West Point Boxing. And then on Facebook, it's also Army West Point Boxing. So look us up. Follow us. We'll be back to Elizabeth.
One more thing. What do you think about the fight tonight? Jacobs is fighting tonight, right?
Yeah, I like Jacobs. I always like Danny Jacobs.
Yeah.
I mean, what I appreciate about Danny is all around good, right?
Yeah.
He's kind of maybe like Devin Haney in a way. I mean, Devin Haney's a little bit like Danny in a way, I should say. Okay. Like Danny can punch. Danny can move. He's got good defense and he's got good movement, right? There's nothing that Danny does poorly. He may not be amazing at everything, but he's pretty dang good at everything.
Who do you think is the best out there right now?
The best out there right now? I really like Lomachenko. I know he had that loss against Teofimo Lopez. I love the way he moves. He's not the best. The best is, I think, is Bud. I think it's Bud Crawford.
Everybody thinks Crawford is that way. They always looking for the Terrence Crawford
and Spence, right?
Yeah, and Spence.
Yep. And Spence is nice too.
I don't think it's ever going to happen, though. What do you think?
I don't know. Money gets in the way of everything. But I like the way Bud fights. He fights from a distance. And when you get close, that's when he's pop, right?
What I like about him is he got the in him. That's what I like.
He's got that dog in him.
Yeah,
he's got that killer. If he hurts you, night.
It's over.
Yeah.
What about the fight last week? I was really, really impressed with
Barrios and Keith Thurman.
I was impressed with Keith Thurman, man.
Impressed after that long off, right? But isn't Barrios the same guy that didn't Barrios get stopped by Tank at a lower weight, or am I wrong?
He got hit. Tank is a really hard puncher.
Tank is like, what, 140 at the most? Am I right or no?
He looked good, though. He presented himself as a good opponent. But Keith Thurman, 2.5 years off, he looked excited. I was very good. I'm looking forward to seeing him compete on the top level again. I think he'll get there.
I think he could.
I think he can get there.
I mean, I really like fighters that are busy. I like fighters that can move. So, I mean, I like Sean Porter, of course, right? But Sean Porter's busy. Like, he's going to come all day like a buzzsaw.
Yeah.
So, we'll see what happens with him next.
Well, listen, man, I really appreciate you coming on
pleasure.
At the Bell. It's an honor seeing you and talking to you. We bring these shows and information to the world. Look at it on At the Bell with Derek Poppy Roland. We want you to like, share, and subscribe to these shows so we can keep bringing you this information. Here I am with Jerry Hart. No relation to Kevin Hart. Jerry Hart, my man.
Poppy, my man. All right. Thanks, Poppy. Appreciate you. At the Bell with Derek Poppy Roland.